Welcome back to the Wasted Wagons podcast. It's our next edition of In No Particular Order, and this time we are going to do our top 5 Tom Hanks movies.
It kind of rolls off nicely from our last edition of In No Particular Order when we did Disney Pixar movies, and I think everybody on the pod mentioned Toy Story in some way, shape, or form. So rolls off nicely to commemorate Tom Hanks and give him his own top 5.
I don't think this one will be as confrontational or as combustible or as argumentative as the Disney one, because there was a lot of shit talking on other people's.
Nobody's naming Wally like me.
No, I don't think there'll be as much hate on people's choices.
Well, Toy Story was all right. I give it an honorable mention, but I'm gonna go with Coco and Onward.
Oh, The Lion King was just okay. The Lion King can eat a dick. What? Great coming
We're also
here.
2 people short. Mike and Biff aren't here today.
Lion King can't eat a dick.
Well, see, that's where
But why?
you stop that blasphemy right now. But before we get to the top 5 list, we're going to do 2 shots this episode. One before we start and one at the end, like we normally do to close out.
But what is Sean's hate for the Lion King and Sucre King Cakes?
That's so great.
I don't know. You can maybe interview him on the side and find out. Find out for us and let us know.
Lion King's not that bad. It's just it's been a while since I've seen the cartoon and the live action. I honestly was like struggling to stay awake in the movie theater.
Oh, live action kind of sucked, but
So I brought my child to see it just to bring her to a movie, and I was like dozing off in that movie. Not that she cared, because it's not like one she wanted me to see, but it was hard.
That's how I felt about Thor 3.
Okay, yeah.
Kind of a snooze fest.
Ragnarok?
Mm-hmm. Whatever the last Thor movie was.
Alright.
Love and Thunder.
Yeah, Love and Thunder.
That's 4. Yeah,
Sure, snooze fest.
same thing, right?
Snooze fest. Ragnarok was okay. That's a
Ragnarok
funny.
was the one with Goldblum in it.
Ragnarok at Jeff Gold.
I have a funny story about 2 of my friends in Thor Ragnarok that I'll tell y'all off air, but let's just say that is a post. I'll talk about that later. I just got 2 friends that movie is near and dear to their hearts for some very weird reasons.
Alright.
And also Sucre. It's been a while, but then it doesn't have.
That's some white icing for you.
Look at the glitter.
What? Anyway,
Why they
You can provide it. You can present it.
yes, sir. Anyway, we are going to start by doing a shot of False River barrel-aged spice rum. Oxbow Distillery is right out of just north of Baton Rouge. They're one of our local supporters. They make a very nice and flavorful, tasty rum. So we're going to do a shot of their spiced barrel-aged rum to get us started.
What's the proof on this thing?
95.
Fuck.
So not going to kill you, but it'll put a little hair on your chest.
Yeah.
It has I will say I sampled it already with Pat, and it's got a strong smell to it, but it actually goes in pretty easy.
That's what
Hey,
she
yo.
Oh,
So,
so bottoms up on this one.
cheers to this top 5, and let's see if we can make it without any real arguments here. So, as I said, we this idea kind of got brought on because of the top 5 Disney Pixar list from last time, and how we all kind of thought that Toy Story was either in our top 5 or in honorable mention for most people.
I don't know if I mentioned it, but the movie is good.
It's good.
It's good.
It's a good.
Toy Story is.
Though Tom Hanks wasn't actually acting in it, his voiceover work was incredible. So that's how we got to bring up this list, which we kind of odd for most people.
Woody is my favorite character. So yeah.
That's fair.
I have to throw out too that I showed my child like a montage of celebrities doing voices. Like one was Tim Allen doing Buzz Lightyear, and now when the reruns of Last Man Standing come on every night on Fox after the news, she's like mind blown. It's like that is him. And like now she can't get out of her head that Buzz Lightyear is on Last Man Standing.
He really is a bum.
Speaking of which, Todd saw a bum dead today.
Todd witnessed to death.
Well, before we start recording,
Dead.
before we started recording,
What is
Tom
she
was
doing?
asking if anybody had died that we had to do a toast to, and I was like, man, I don't know.
Now we have one.
Yeah, he's like, no, someone has to have died. I'm like, hey, you sound like you're champion or wishing someone would die, so we would have reason to toast to. So I guess we'll do this the toast at the end for the.
The homeless fellow that was dead on the side of Rouse's.
You guys want to see a dead body?
Oh boy. Anyway, I'll try to keep the segue back on track, and I'll go first since I think this was my suggestion maybe, but one of my first honorable mention was just mentioned, and it is Toy Story. I don't need to say anything about the movie. We already talked about it before. We all know the movie. We all loved it as a kid, and as an adult, we probably still do. So, yeah. Toy Story will make my second honorable mention. My first honorable mention will be Saving Private Ryan. I love the cinematography and how it was shot. It was action from the very get-go. Obviously, if you've seen the movie, you know it was very intense. I like
the spin-off, Saving Ryan's Privates. That's a different story.
We can talk about that one later. That'd be a whole nother top 5 list. But I think it's one of the best movies to have seen in a theater. Mm-hmm. I'm not a person that watches a lot of movies that are not action movies in the theater, just because I think the theater is made for big films with a lot of like action, explosions, things like that to it. Comedies don't really play well for me in a theater.
Did you see it in theaters when it came out?
Yes.
And it scarred you because, given your age.
Yeah.
You were like, holy shit, what am I watching?
I was like, wow, this is pretty effing gory.
How old were you at the time?
Oh, Saving Private Ryan came out in what?
98?
99. So I was
9th grade?
16-ish. No, 14.
14
to 16, something like that. But still, for a 16-year-old, that was a lot to take in. Yeah. Especially, again, the first scene is just full on.
7th grade-ish, it was like Saving Private Ryan and Titanic, seeing those in the theaters, and it was like, what am I watching? Holy shit.
Yeah. So breaking into my top 5, number 5 for me is a movie that probably not a lot of people have seen, but I remember watching a lot as a kid, and it's funny. It stars Dan Aykroyd. It's about it's him and Tom Hanks. They're cops on doing like an undercover like drug bust, and it's the movie Dragnet. There was a cartoon made about it.
The OG series. I used to see that.
Yes, the series. So they did a movie for it. I just distinctly remember watching it a lot at my grandmother's house and with my dad a lot.
What else?
Murder, She Wrote. Yeah, and
Andy Griffith Show.
Yeah, and that list too. All in the Family too. Wait, no, not really.
Golden Girls.
I'd love to shout some Golden Girls. All right, you want to do top 5 Golden Girls? You want to rank the Golden
There's
Girls?
Only 4 Golden Girls, but you know.
You can make it. So Dragnet goes for number 5 for me. Here's where my bit of controversy comes in, because my number 4 is technically 2 movies. They're different movies with the same lead actors in telling just about the same story, just years apart. It is You've Got Mail and Sleepless in Seattle. That's right. I said it. I've already said before that I had a thing for Meg Ryan. In back in the day.
Now or 74?
That was Nicholson.
Nicholson now or 74 or Meg Ryan?
Meg Ryan.
Meg Ryan.
Yeah. Like when we talked about like the Christmas episode, I mentioned that You've Got Mail was one of my favorite movies just because of the time. And
You
just
called it a guilty pleasure?
It was a guilty pleasure. It still is. I would watch it today if I had it on DVD.
We were comparing it to I think the original thing that brought up You've Got Mail was whether or not it was a Christmas movie, right?
Yes, something like that. And it's kind of almost not exactly the same storyline for Sleepless in Seattle, but it's very similar in a lot of ways. Again, the same lead actor and actress.
Is that a
So
reference to sex? Sleepless in Seattle.
not necessarily. My number 3 is going to be Big, which I think was one of Tom Hanks' first early big breakthrough movies.
It's 3? It's number 3, right?
That's number 3, yeah. Number 2, and I kind of struggle with this because everybody's going. It may not be in everyone's top 5, but it's universally loved as a movie. It's so quotable. We all know all the lines from it. It's Forrest Gump.
Sure, it's on everybody's list.
Yeah, you can't really go wrong with it, and no one should argue with you that it's, if it's in your top 5, whatever. Doesn't make my number 1 because my number 1 is one of my favorite baseball movies and one of my favorite sports movies as well.
Yeah.
And it's A League of Their Own. Same thing. The story with
Very talented cast. Too.
yes, especially with Dottie, and then the stories with the sisters,
Madonna.
and just the quotable lines. The soundtrack is also incredible. We all know "Used to Be My Playground."
Yeah,
Just a very very fun, good movie from my younger years that I remember, and always kind of stuck around.
Madonna in the early 90s was.
She was something.
But even after that though, like you ever seen that Ray of Light
Ray
video?
of Light video. I mean, with the
I mean,
nipples.
and this was like well after her prime days when she released Ray of Light.
Like 94, wasn't that the secret stuff when she was like real?
I think Ray of Light was like
That was like
early
90,
2000s.
that was like
wasn't it?
98, yeah.
Yeah,
Yeah.
yeah, she was
That
still
was like
pretty
a
good at that.
comeback, even though she was gone for like 3 or 4 years. You know?
She probably like an alien nowadays, but early 2000s, she was
Probably.
still looking pretty good.
I think she's only in like her early 60s or
really
something,
good,
which is
really
hard to believe.
Actually, I have no issues with that. 3 honorable mentions. The first, I'm gonna go with A Beautiful Day in the Neighborhood, and that's relative. Two of these on the honorable mentions list are relatively recent, and that's A Beautiful Day in the Neighborhood. That's of course kind of talks about the life of Mr. Rogers, and it just kind of takes you through just how genuine of a human being he was. Tom Hanks, of course, just like in every movie, he just kills that part. If you haven't seen it, it's a very, very good movie. You should definitely check it out. Also going to go with another relatively good movie that I saw recently with Tom Hanks in it, and that's Sully, based off of the pilot. His last name was, I think, Sullivan.
Captain now.
And he
Not Sullivan.
and he was the pilot who landed the flight in the Hudson
Yeah.
River and basically saved a whole bunch of passengers' lives. And one of the engines blew out because it hit birds. Really, really good movie. Last honorable mention was Patrick's number 4, and that's Big.
Number 3.
Was your 3? Big was your number 3?
Yeah, number 3.
Yeah. I mean, it's a classic movie. I mean, every time you see the Xandar machine, that's what you think of. Every time I see the little baby corns on the freaking the
They have
tray
one
platters at parties, that's
They
what
had
I think
one at,
of.
Laser tag. They have is it Zoltar?
Zoltar, not Xandar, Zoltar.
Yeah, they
yes.
have a Zoltar machine at the laser
Xandar
tag.
was the ride that was like the Gravitron that went up in the air. Yeah. Zoltar. So every time you see the Zoltar, every time you see the baby corn, you think of that movie. So yeah, Big gets the last honorable mention.
Yeah, I forgot about that.
Going into my top 5, and I think the only one of mine that maybe even raise eyebrows is number 5, and that I have the movie over here. It probably came out maybe 2000-ish, because I remember seeing it with my girlfriend in high school, and it's basically a movie about the Irish mob, and Tom Hanks basically plays a hitman for it. It's called Road to Perdition. If you haven't seen it, great movie.
I thought that was 2002.
It's got Paul Newman in it.
Yeah, Paul Newman, Jude Law, Daniel Craig was a Mondo douche in that movie, but it was just a great movie. And what's the dude who plays Superman?
Nick Cavill, huh?
No, I can't think of his name. He was the kid in the movie.
Oh.
I'll look it up in a minute. Dude's like really good looking dude and in really good shape now, but when he was a kid in that movie.
Andrew something?
He's the guy
His last name starts with an H. It's like
he was in Hall Pass, huh? And he got the
yeah, he was.
bang
Christine
Applegate.
Applegate in Whole Bass. I can't think of his name. I'll look it up in a minute. But really good movie. And I think that the scene, Travis mentioned Paul Newman. I think the scene where he ends up gunning down Paul Newman was probably one of those scenes that really kind of stood out to me in movies. If I was to say it was if I had a top 10 movie scene list, it might be in there.
Tyler Hoechlin.
Yeah, it's also an
Hoechlin?
Yeah, Hoechlin, yeah.
Hoechlin. He was also on that show Teen Wolf on TV.
The Road to Perdition is a really good movie, and I liked it. If I would have expanded out my honorable mention, it probably would have got thrown in. I really like that movie. I should have probably put it in. I'm going to have to redo my list at some point, like a year later, because some of the movies like Sully I have not seen yet. Same thing, Beautiful Day in the Neighborhood, I have not seen that yet. So I'm probably going to have to
Does it say what year Road Perdition was?
I'll look it up as 02.
02? That's what I thought 02, yeah. I remember renting it from Blockbuster or something. I forget. It's been so long, you know.
Number 4, I know this is definitely going to be in Travis's top 5, and Patrick didn't mention it, but it's Bachelor Party. I mean, iconic comedy. Basically, you know, he's getting married. His father-in-law hates him, and his friends throw him a huge bachelor party at a hotel, and they go from everything to bestiality and to drug use. To the ex-boyfriend trying to sell him Cuisinarts. You know, a great movie. Number 3, this probably should be in everybody's top 5. As Patrick mentioned, it's 4. You know, and again, the iconic lines, you know, just the whole storyline about how this guy who's basically special needs kind of conquers all these goals in life, and people don't necessarily believe him, but just an overall great heartwarming story.
Go full retard.
Wow.
I don't
Redact.
He was highly functioning autistic. I don't know.
Forrest Gump is probably one of those movies that I would put in like, it's the perfect movie in the sense of like, it has everything you would want to make a good movie. It may not be the best movie, but it has great story. It's quotable. The acting is really good. It's got some humor to it. It's got
comedy,
some.
It's got action. It's got drama.
Yeah.
It's got everything.
I love movies like that where it's like a period piece. It's not a true story, but it's got a lot of true facts and eras in it.
Right.
Yeah.
You know, I mean, it's kind of like how Titanic was. It's a fake story with a
But I
real.
mean, I like how you throw that in there because it's almost like, you know, he's the one who notifies the authorities about Watergate.
Yeah.
He's the
Yeah.
one who
It was very clever. Yeah.
he's the one who gives John Lennon the inspiration for Imagine. You know, it's just such a really great movie. I introduced it to my kids, and they'll periodically go put it on and watch it. So it's one of those movies that no matter what age group you're in, you're gonna watch it. You're gonna.
I know
love
for
it.
us, it's one of those movies we grew with because it came out when we were like 10 years old and
Yeah.
probably didn't understand a lot of it, and then started getting the references as we grew older, and like that, catching the thing with the Watergate and different things that he did in the movie.
It's where we all learned what STDs were, but didn't know what they were called. They were STDs.
And Jenny was the biggest movie villain of all time.
Yeah, I see
Yeah.
that comes on
that-
Twitter every time. Like, even though she wasn't necessarily a villain, here's my vote for like biggest villain who wasn't necessarily a villain. You know. Number 2 again was also my number 2 in my my Disney movie list, and that's Toy Story. Again, Tom Hanks, although not necessarily in it, voiced Woody. Woody is my favorite character in Toy Story. And again, to kind of reiterating what I said when I picked Toy Story as my my second overall Disney movie, who didn't think that when they were a kid wondered if their toys got up and talked to each other when after they played with them? It's just such a genius movie. And again, I'm almost 40 years old, and I can go sit back and enjoy that movie just as much as I did when I was, however old when it came out. When it came out,
It's probably one of the most memorable movies in terms of like your toys, and I'm sure there were probably movies before that had toys become animated in a film, but it's the most memorable one. They said I could think of our generation
Well,
for
being
sure.
the first Pixar movie, it was mind blowing to see that in a theater of like a computer animated movie, different than cartoons you're used to, and
What also helped, it had some of the best toys and action figures to go with it too. Like I used to work at KB Toys, y'all know that.
like Rocky Gibraltar.
Yeah, and just the amount of like Buzz Lightyear action figures and clothing and accessories that you could buy, that really made that movie stick around and last a lot longer for y'all's kids to be of age and start watching like that, and everything still be relevant,
well, yeah, like Toy Story 4 came out when our kids were alive, and I know my child saw it in theaters and loved Toy Story 4.
Funny thing is, me and Travis had a Mr. Potato Head. I had a Woody hat, like, before we even saw the movie. So obviously it was just like, oh man, this looks like such a cool movie, I'm going to get this hat.
Right.
Before we even saw it.
Talking about Barbie and how many people dressed up as Ken and Barbie for Halloween. When we were kids, how many people wanted to dress up as Buzz and Woody? Like that costume.
I dressed up as Woody when I was 35.
And we still love you for it.
That was one of my favorite. I wouldn't say it was one of my favorite costumes. It was a pretty cool costume because it had the pull string on the back.
Just now in Mardi Gras, I'm talking about Fox 8. I watch that channel all the time. One of the field reporters was dressed as Woody, and they cut holes in his cowboy hat so he could wear his headphones. And put his big ass
It's just a
cowboy hat on.
timeless costume and outfit for all of them, even including Buzz. Like you could still, I said, you could be a 35-year-old man and wear it today, and people are like, oh man, that's still kind of awesome.
Meme that says Woody and Buzz. Yeah, that's my mom's toys in her room.
You might get a restraining order put on you at some point, but it's still a cool costume.
And I mean, there's just so many cool characters. I think we went into this a little bit last in no particular order. We talked about Woody and Buzz, but then we mentioned the underrated character of Rocky Gibraltar. But then you also think about Mr. Potato Head and the Slinky Dog and the
Ham.
T-Rex.
The Army Man.
The Army Man
Ham the bank.
Arlie and Ermy is the army guy.
Yeah, that's so many cool characters in that movie. I mean, and it really was Pixar's first movie, so
I think it was the first Pixar movie ever.
Yeah.
so it really kind of put them on the map. So I think it's definitely the one that most people remember.
All right, so that was number two.
I was
Number
gonna say I
one.
wasn't number one.
No, number one was also in Patrick's top. No, it was an honorable mention. Travis obviously already knows what it is, but I mean, the opening scene where they storm the beach, these kids scared as shit getting out and getting blown up. Dude's like, dude laying injured on the ground with his organs hanging out, screaming, "Mama! Mama!" That scene just kind of sucks you in right away.
Yeah.
But the whole cast of that movie, I mean, can we, aside from just Tom
Studs.
Hanks,
Yeah.
Tom Sizemore.
yeah, Tom
Barry
Sizemore, Giovanni
Rest in
Ribisi, Vin Diesel, Barry Pepper. What a great movie. Edward
Matt
Burns.
Damon. He was Private Ryan.
Matt Damon. Matt Damon was like the least of
He
them.
was just a little bit of yeah.
Yeah, he was like Lanyard considered. Edward Burns was great in that movie. Barry Pepper as Private Jackson, probably I would say maybe my top 10 favorite movie characters of all time. I love Giovanni Ribisi. His character wasn't all that great in that movie, but he had that dramatic scene where he dies. He gets shot with the freaking Gatling gun. And he's bleeding all over the place and he's asking for the morphine.
He was
Yeah.
just the medic.
He was the medic. He was the full medic.
It doesn't count as a Tom Hanks movie, but his hand in Band of Brothers and all that. Band of Brothers series on TV is like an extension of Saving Private Ryan. All that.
But I mean, I remember seeing that. I think y'all were talking about the year that movie came out. I remember the first time I saw it was actually in Coach Schneider's American History class, and I was like, "Man, I've never seen this movie before. It's badass because it's like from that opening scene, it just sucks you in."
It's nonstop.
And I was really debating. I think when we first came out with this list, I was really debating on having Toy Story as my number one. Like when it first came out, I was like, Toy Story's got to be number one. So I love this movie as a kid. It just sticks with me. But if I'm thinking like now, what really made me change it was, I think it was early this morning. I was thinking, if I'm looking at it from my perspective now, which one I would rather watch at this moment between Toy Story and Saving Private Ryan? Saving Private Ryan.
Yeah.
It's just such an action-packed movie.
That's one that
Everybody
I'm
in
sure
it.
you haven't shown that to your kids, but just think of like.
I think I did. No, we did.
Oh, you
We
did? Okay.
Yeah.
Because I think of movies like that when like my child like to wrap her head around like World War II. This is a piece of history, and watch that scene and
Yep.
like see her witness that for the first time, like how I did.
And that's one of the things we explained. We actually watched it as a family. Jessica and I don't always have the same tastes in movies. But this was one of those movies that we watched as a family, and we kind of explained, look, this is what really happened back then. It was
Right. Yeah, we're like so close with my child. Like she's showed some interest in Titanic. Not that the movie's that great all overall, but just the historic value of it and seeing some of the scenes and how well the graphics are in that movie. Of like to see people literally dying in the ocean and shit. Makes me wonder how a freaking 10-year-old is going to take that. This.
I think we can all say that the dude, I can't even remember his name, the guy who was the translator, you want to talk about a guy who's not a villain but a villain, the little douchebag that let watch his comrades get fucking stabbed with a knife and just stands there and cries.
Yeah.
Ugh, hate that dude.
It's not Hans Landa.
That's Kringle.
No, not the
What's a bingo?
Ooh, that's a bingo. Is that how you say it?
Bingo.
You just say bingo.
You want to go next?
Yeah, I'll go next. Because, my honorable mentions are no particular order, but Saving Private Ryan's on there. Also, A League of Their Own's on there just because I have to see it again. It's been so long. It's one that I haven't seen enough, probably. But, you know, I know some of the iconic lines and things like that. A couple of other honorable mentions are Turner and Hooch.
I remember hating that movie.
Because that movie was one, I remember having that one recorded on a VHS off of like HBO, and it was just like, oh, a guy and his dog. You know? And I remember watching it as a kid. I don't remember much about it, but being drawn to that movie for some reason because it's a guy and his dog. Or
Yeah.
whatever. But again, I can't quote it. I don't know it that well. That's why it's somewhere in honorable mention. I just remember having it as a kid. And also on there is Apollo 13.
Yeah, I'm surprised nobody mentioned that one yet.
Yeah, I mean that one's one I'd have to see again as well. I remember seeing it like in theaters and whatever, and I remember it being really, you know, an impactful movie. But it was just one that I haven't. It's not one you watch over and over again.
Right.
When we're done, I'll kind of go through the list of his movies in sort of a chronological order, and just look at the amount of banger movies that he's had and the run he had within like a 4 to 6 year
That's
window.
what I'm saying, like 80s, 90s.
Yeah.
It was like,
And I was
stud.
curious, like, because some people had Apollo 13 as like their number one, like all time favorite Tom Hanks movies, and I wonder, like, damn, is that going to make anyone in our group's list? Because though it's good, but
That's God.
will it crack our list?
That's
Yeah,
what
I
I
don't
mean. I
think
remember really liking it when I saw it, but it's not one that I've seen over and over again.
Yeah.
To
It's like-
remember every little scene.
I don't think I've seen it.
Grade at Mary Magdalene.
Yeah,
That's what
I
remember.
haven't seen it since middle school, so it's kind of.
Yeah, I was always into space and movies like that, so I remember really liking it. It's just not one that I've seen over and over again.
Yeah.
But I know it's on there, you know. It's one that I would watch again and probably really appreciate. It, I also have The Burbs on there. Because that's one I didn't see until later in life. I didn't really know much about it. And it came on like one of the HBOs or Showtimes I had. And it's like this, you know, it's got Bruce Dern in it, Carrie Fisher, and it's a very random kind of cast. But it was, you know, kind of an interesting movie. I just never expected Tom Hanks to be in that, you know.
It's one I need to go back and watch because I haven't seen it in so long and I don't remember a lot of it, but I remember it being talked
Yeah.
about a lot.
Yeah, it was. I just remember when it came on, I was just like, it came out in like 1989 or something. And it
Something
was,
like that.
And it was just an interesting cast, an interesting concept. I mean, you know, the little neighborhood coming together and, you know, fighting against the neighbor or whatever it was, the guy that was like killing people or something. But, yeah, to get into my top five, I'll go ahead and delete this. Some of
He
these-
sounds like me with the honorable mentions this week.
We only had 4, so
Yeah,
I had six last week.
I had enough. So anyway, number 5 has to be Big because I've seen Big enough times. I remember loving that movie. You know, different iconic scenes with the keyboard and you know things like that. I haven't seen that one enough, or I haven't seen it in a while, but that's why I put it at number 5. Number 4, I have to be The Green Mile. Surprised that wasn't mentioned yet.
Fuck! I forgot about that.
That's another one that I need to see more. I remember The Green Mile being, you know, one of those movies that like you're very disturbed after seeing it because it was just there was some rough scenes in it.
That definitely makes my honorable mentions.
The
I
dude,
forgot about
yeah.
that one.
The guy when he got, you know, the whatever the guy's name is, the guy's dead.
Michael Clark Duncan?
Yeah.
No, not him, but the little
yeah.
guy, the bald guy, the white.
Dude that had AIDS.
Yeah, the guy that had AIDS when he got electrocuted and everything. It was like that was friggin' disturbing.
Has AIDS. Patrick
And-
didn't say Philadelphia.
we can talk about that after Travis gets to his.
And yeah, Michael Clark Duncan was pretty iconic in that movie. All his lines. And,
Absolutely.
I'm sorry, boss, and you know,
Coffee.
coffee. You like to
Like
drink,
drink,
but spelled
not
differently. Not spelled the same. Yeah. And then, all right, controversial one on my list, since y'all gonna rag me on it, is That Thing You Do.
I'm not gonna rag on you for it. Todd is because Todd was very adamant that movie sucks.
I'm gonna tell you what, the story behind that though, because me and Travis were talking like this is like back in the day. We're like, dude, I don't think I've seen a bad Tom Hanks movie.
Yeah.
So we started watching all these other movies that we had not seen, and That Thing You Do was one of them. And like, yeah, we were kind of both in agreement. Yeah, this movie kind of sucks.
Yeah, I think with that one,
And it had
like
a good cast
like you said,
in it,
it had the
too.
good it had the good cast. Had
Had a
Tom
huge
Everett
cast.
Scott and Alan, but
Ethan
Ethan
Embry.
Embry, and you look back at that and you're like, man, that should have been better than what it was. And then I don't know if you watched this one with me or if I followed it up by myself, but I ended up watching Joe versus the Volcano, and that one was pretty terrible too. So yeah, That Thing You Do was probably better than Joe versus the Volcano, but it was definitely a letdown from what I expected from it.
My thing on That Thing You Do was that it was like I was real big. My parents were real big Beatles fans. They got me into being the Beatles, a fan, and then it was like that time, that era, like I said about like an era. It's a fake story, but it's like an era piece, and it's almost like it matches kind of like bands like the Beatles then that went super famous just because they were cute and had one hit song and things like that, and a lot of cameos. Charlize Theron's in it. I mean, Liv Tyler's in it. All kinds of people are in that movie.
I'm not gonna say the movie's bad, but I will say that the soundtrack is better than the movie to
Yeah,
me.
oh yeah. The Wonders.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's kind of a longish movie too. I remember. I think there's even like a director's cut that's like over 2 hours or whatever.
Yeah.
I remember that on the DVD. But yeah, it was kind of like because of that time, because I'm big into music and stuff like that. Is that it, you know?
I'm okay with it being in your list, being that it's like number 4, not like in your top 2 or 3. If it were 2 or 3,
It's number 3.
Number 3.
oh, I'm sorry.
Close enough.
Yeah. Carry on.
But yeah, number 2 is Catch Me If You Can. And it's just because that movie's, you know, I remember seeing that with y'all.
Yeah, I own the movie, but it's not even in my honorable mention. It's not terrible. But,
It's another one that's got like
don't
good
love it.
cameos. It's you know, going back and seeing like Jennifer Garner and Amy Adams in it, and people that went on to bigger, better things.
I think
you know.
Heather likes it better than I do, so that's why
Yeah.
we own it. But
And
I
kind
mean,
of
it's more of a Leo movie than it is Tom Hanks in a way, but
Yeah.
you know,
that's one of the movies that I think I need to watch because it was recommended to me by someone else a while ago that it may change, maybe not change my top 5, but it might creep into the honorable mentions maybe because my buddy had said it was really good and I had to check it out. So
yeah, it's a very clever movie. Just this different scenes that, you know, the way that Leo escapes, you know, the FBI again and stuff. And I mean, Tom Hanks could get knocked in that movie because of his accent and all that stuff. You know, he tries to really get into the character and stuff, and his, you know. But yeah, it's one that I'll watch when it's on, and shit. Christopher Walken was great in that movie. And then number 1, I don't really need to explain much. It's Forrest Gump, of course. I mean,
Jenny,
Forrest Gump, if
why don't you
anything.
love me, Jenny?
I remember my parents taking me to see that in theaters in '94, and being like 10 years old, and you know, getting some of it or whatever. And it's just like at the end when, you know, Forrest is like, you know, when he meets his son for the first time and all that, my mom's like bawling, crying in the theater. It's like I have like vague visions of that with like tear rolling down her face. And I'm like, what is wrong with her? And it was when he's like, it was not like, oh, he's got a daddy named Forrest too. That was one part, but then it was like when he was like, is he smart or is he like me?
is he a bingo?
And it was like that, just like, you know, killed everybody. You know? And seeing that for the first time.
Yeah, one thing I failed to mention about Forrest Gump, like I mentioned Saving Private Ryan and how they stormed the beach and they had the dude with his organs hanging out saying, "Mama, Mama." But one thing about Forrest Gump, that was probably like my first experience actually seeing a war scene in a movie was in Forrest Gump, and it scared the shit out of me because you know, like, you know, you learned about the draft in school and like people like not necessarily wanting to join the army but had to basically join it, and that was kind of the same thing going on in Forrest Gump. You know, some of these dudes were just drafted. Bubba mentioned he was drafted.
Yeah.
But then you see this shit like when he's like, one day the rain just stopped, and then all of a sudden they're getting bombed.
Yeah.
And dudes is just blowing up right in front of them, and then that kind of shit scared the shit out of me as a kid. Even more so than when I saw Saving Private Ryan because I was a whole lot younger when I saw Forrest Gump.
The war scenes weren't as visually impactful
Graphic,
per se
yeah.
They weren't as graphic.
as graphic as Saving Private Ryan, but they were very impactful to like your persona, your psyche from watching it. Like you absolutely remember them.
Yeah.
It was Dallas from Phoenix.
And Tex.
Cleveland, he was from Detroit. And Tex, well, I don't know where Tex is from.
Well, I remember that Tex came from.
all right, well, there's actually only one on my list here that hasn't been mentioned yet. The rest of them have all been mentioned, so I'll start with my honorable mentions. And first, I'll go with Patrick's number 1, which is A League of Their Own. I remember as a kid, you know, not really liking this movie that much, thinking it was a little boring, but I actually recently watched it as an adult not too long ago. Gotta say, like, there was great acting across the board. From Madonna and Rosie O'Donnell even, but I really felt like Tom Hanks kind of stole the movie. Like I felt like he was put on a really good acting display, and his character quickly became my favorite character in the movie. So as an adult, that one kind of jumps into an honorable
I
mention.
definitely want to see it because it was kind of like '92 was definitely like what we were 8, like before our time kind of thing.
I'm shocked that this is not in your top 5,
Yeah,
being that as big of a baseball fans as we all are.
yeah.
I thought it would have crept up maybe a little bit higher. Maybe that'd be number 1, but honorable mention for you is a surprise to me.
The problem is, there's just so many good Tom Hanks movies.
I can totally
There's no
understand.
major
that.
league.
There's
Wow.
I don't even, just to show you, like Saving Private Ryan's an awesome movie, but it's not even in my honorable mentions.
It's fair, and again, he has so many good movies across decades of all kind of genres that you could. There's no real argument I don't think could be made for why a movie is or is not in your 5. But I just thought that would have been. But
His might have been more appropriately as a
The
top
amount of
10.
movies is that I know none of us are mentioning it, but one that was on my shelf for years was The Money Pit. That was one of
Yeah.
Holly's favorite movies, and she was obsessed with that movie.
Yeah.
And like,
Like I said, when after Travis is done, I'll kind of run through the list of his movies and the filmography, and you can see what other ones didn't make our list that are incredible movies. He's got so many. Just like we talked about Steve Martin when we did that one. How many movies he has that didn't get included, but they're just banger movies.
Yeah, some of the like The Burbs and Money Pit. Those are some of the ones that I would like to go back and rewatch. Actually,
yeah.
another honorable mention. Todd was the one that mentioned it, and he actually was the one who turned me on to it because I had actually never heard of it. Was Sully? The idea of him being a pilot who ended up landing the plane against the orders too. Like, and he actually got some heat for it.
Yeah.
For landing the plane in the Hudson River, but saving everybody's life.
Save people's lives.
and he ended up-
had to go on trial for it.
And it was because he was going against orders doing it because he felt like it was the safest way. But he had the experience, even a lot of people's lives because of it. Great story. Todd mentioned this one as well. Road to Perdition. Action gangster type movie. A lot of Tommy gun usage in it. I'll throw that as an honorable mention. The last honorable mention is the one that nobody has mentioned yet.
Glad it was you.
And if y'all know me, I'm a big Disney fan. And to actually see my favorite actor play one of my favorite historical figures in Walt Disney, Saving Mr. Banks is my last honorable mention. And that, if y'all haven't seen that one, I would definitely recommend going to see it.
I want to see it with the Mr. Rogers.
If you know my wife, her biggest favorite part of Disney is Mary Poppins, and that's basically what this is about. It's about Walt Disney trying to buy the rights to Mary Poppins from the person who wrote it.
I remember that when it came out, that it wasn't like a biopic on Walt Disney, but he was Walt Disney in the movie. Yeah.
Yep. Yeah. So he's trying to buy the rights to Mary Poppins to make a film on it, and it kind of takes you into the backstory of P.L. Travers, the lady who wrote Mary Poppins.
Why would they call it that?
So and it's got Colin Farrell in it. Colin Farrell does an excellent job in it. So if y'all haven't watched that one, definitely give that one a watch.
I'll have to add to my list.
My number 5 is going to be the unanimous favorite of everybody here, and that's Forrest Gump. Again,
Forrest Gump.
I think any time Forrest Gump is on TV, it's one of those ones like Harry Potter. If a Harry Potter movie's on TV, you just kind of leave it on and it plays, and you just feel like watching it again.
It happens.
That's the same.
Shit?
Today's my day to get cut off, I guess. But that's another one that is on TV, and when it's on TV, you just sit and watch it. And Todd mentioned that his kids like to pull it out and watch it. Mine are the same. Like if you left Carson in here earlier and you asked him what his favorite Tom Hanks movie was, he would probably instantly say Forrest Gump. Just so many memorable quotes, memorable lines, memorable scenes, and
Tasted like cigarettes.
a very clever way to put a movie together. So that'll come in at number 5 for me. Number 4 is the unanimous favorite, going back to our last in no particular order. And we can kind of lump this as the Toy Story series because you can put Toy Story 1, 2, 3, 4 all together. But we're mainly...
I would say 1 and 3 are probably the 2 best ones. I mean, 4, I like how Woody and Goofy get back together. 2, I don't really feel like there was anything memorable really going on. But
agree with that. I would say the same order. I'd say 1, 3, 4, 2. But either way, they were all decent. But I think when I put it in at number 4, I'm mainly talking about number 1. And again, we mentioned it already. Just the numerous characters in the movie: Woody, Buzz, Mr. Potato Head, Ham, Sarge. All of those characters are just great characters.
What's the dog's name?
Slinky.
It was voiced first by Jim Varney, and after Jim Varney passed, it was voiced by the guy that did Farmer Fran and The Waterboy.
Same kind of thing we said earlier. Toy Story put Pixar on the map.
What a
But
fact.
we've kind of spoke enough about Toy Story, so I'll kind of leave that. But that comes in at number 4.
But before you go into number 3, sorry, I don't mean to cut you off. But how dramatic is the scene in Toy Story 3 when they're all getting dunked in the furnace?
That's
Did everybody at this table not cry when that happened?
Well, I think
I did.
they led you to believe that was going to be end of the whole Toy Story saga. Like 3 was the last one, and then you're thinking like as they're getting burned in there, that was it. But of course it wasn't. They get rescued, make a 4th one, gonna make a 5th one.
I'm sure a 5th one's gonna come out.
Oh, it is. It's coming out.
Yeah.
So, but yeah, so we'll kind of leave that Toy Story we've talked enough about.
Gibraltar come back?
He was donated.
Toy Story
you know.
5 is like in production.
He was yard sale with Bo Peep. Anyway,
Ron Sale behind it for sure.
number 3 is I was actually kind of holding off, hoping nobody would mention this, but Sean ended up mentioning it as his number 4. But how the hell did all y'all leave the Green Mile out?
Yeah.
I mean, the Green Mile is freaking.
But it didn't
awesome.
make my top. It wouldn't have made my top 5, but it was definitely an honorable mention.
Here's why.
I'm tired, boss.
Here's why I left it out. It's been so long since I've seen it.
Right. I agree that I need to see it again.
I know flashes of the movie and some quotes here and there, but I don't remember all the full stories together.
As much as I don't read like novels and stuff, I did remember having a big thick ass book and trying to read it at one time because I liked the movie
And
so much.
it was Stephen King that wrote that, right?
Yeah, it was a Stephen
Yeah.
King novel.
So, I mean, we're talking about we talk about the cast of Saving Private Ryan and just
Barry Pepper was also in.
and That Thing You Do. This was Michael Clark Duncan, David Morse, James Cromwell, Barry Pepper. I mean, the guy you mentioned,
Sam Rockwell.
Michael Jeter was the one that you mentioned
Michael
earlier.
Jeter, there he is.
Sam Rockwell.
Not even Sam Rockwell, the
Rockwell.
other guy who played Percy. Who was
Yeah,
he
how
was
big
the
of
one
a
that
fucking douche was
stomped
that
on the
guy?
mouse that
Yeah.
Michael Jeter's character, the mouse.
Yeah, he could have
he's-
easily been a top
He's
5
one of
movie
those.
douche.
He's one of those
villain.
actors. It's like I'm sure in real life he got like death threats because he played that role so well. It's
Yeah.
like he was known as a douchebag because of his character.
But I don't know. I know he was in Guiding Light, but like what other?
And actually,
movies
you know,
I don't
Mike-
his name, yeah.
Mike is not here today, but Mike was actually the one who told me about this movie. And I remember seeing previews for it and seeing the length of the movie and saying like, oh, that looks like it's going to be boring and it's long. I think I'm going to pass on it. But then he kept telling me like, oh, dude, it's awesome. You need to check it out. And, it is a very awesome movie. It's going to get my number 3. If you haven't checked it out, go check it out, The Green Mile.
99. Wow.
These two have been mentioned in some way, shape, or form. I think number 2 has been mentioned by everybody in here, and that's going to be big. I mean, Todd mentioned the scene with the corns. That's a classic scene. I actually have a Funko Pop of him holding the little mini corn,
Oh, really? I didn't know
dressed
that.
in the white suit. Sean mentioned the piano where they're playing chopsticks on the big keyboard at
Robert
FAO
Loggia.
Schwartz. So when we went to New York last 2 Easters ago, I guess now, and we went to FAO Schwartz, and as I'm checking out, or standing in line to check out, and I see a wall of Christmas ornaments, which it was weird because we went for Easter, so it was past Christmas. But I see a Christmas ornament of the keyboard,
Oh,
and I
wow.
stepped out of line and grabbed it because of Big. That's the whole reason why I bought that Christmas ornament with the
You should
keyboard.
get it back.
So, again, same kind of thing. Anytime you see a Zoltar machine
Yeah.
standing around, you take a picture of it because Big made that machine popular.
Yeah,
So,
that's the only reason I know what one is. And
again,
I
classic.
want it laser tag and I'm with. It spits out little cards with like fortunes on it.
Again, classic movie comes in at number 2. And Todd mentioned this in his top 5, and he said it would definitely appear on mine. because it's not only in my top 5 Tom Hanks movies, but it's a top 5 favorite movie for me ever, and that's Bachelor Party. Very fun, fun movie. Like Todd said, it kind of hits everything under the sun as far as like what you expect to, what you expect to see at the craziness of a bachelor party.
Nick the what? The dick.
It's like you said, it's got drugs and strippers and a lot of comedy in it. Like Todd mentioned, his fiance's ex-boyfriend trying to buy her back with appliances. The classic father-in-law hates him mentality. Just a very funny movie. Keeps you interested the whole time.
1984.
So
That's another one I remember bits and pieces, but I haven't seen it in so long. I'll probably want to go back and watch it.
so Bachelor
It's good.
It's good.
Tawny
Very
Katane,
good.
from all those music
Bachelor
videos.
Party comes in.
Adrian's men.
So Bachelor Party comes in at my my number 1. So favorite Tom Hanks movie.
Something I want to think about, and we'll have to table this for another episode down the road. Would Tom Hanks be a top 5 actor of all time?
Yeah, he'd be my favorite.
Travis says he's definitely in the top.
Yeah, he'd be up with me with like him and Kiefer Sutherland and
If we did a
Tommy Lee Jones, guys like that, be in my top
I
5.
mean, the top 5 actors could definitely be something that we would put for another date. I would
Yeah,
definitely
yeah.
be all about that.
But yeah, Hanks would definitely be somewhere in my top.
But going through like his IMDb, like back from like some of his first early movies, Splash.
Oh, yeah. It was very early.
So that was 83. Then he had the
Splash was the one that supposedly put him on the map. I read his biography, and that was really kind of his first big break. That kind of started getting
Yeah.
him other
Was
roles.
that the Kim Cattrall movie, or was that I'm thinking of something else?
I'm
I
not.
don't think. I
I'm
don't
thinking of
think.
Mannequin. Yeah.
Then he had the Bachelor Party in 84. The Man with One Red Shoe was 85. I don't remember that
I
one
don't know
too
what the
much.
hell that is.
I don't remember the Volunteers too much either. The Money Pit in 86. Skip a few movies. Then my movie Dragnet, that was my honorable mention, was 87. I definitely recommend checking that out because Dan Aykroyd, they play like almost like a buddy cop kind of role.
Dan Aykroyd, yeah.
It's like a buddy cop kind of role, but it's actually a really not overly funny movie, but it's definitely got some entertainment parts to it. Especially when they have to get dressed up and go to this pagan ritual undercover. That's probably like one of the more famous scenes that made the movie for a lot of people. Obviously big in 88. I don't remember Punchline at all.
I don't remember that one.
Jesus, I have no idea what that is.
89 he had The Burbs and Turner and Hooch. This movie in 90 probably not gonna get a lot of applause, but I remember it being a pretty decent movie. Bonfire of the Vanities.
I've heard of it, yeah.
Definitely worth a watch. You're not gonna love it, I don't say, but it's definitely I think a solid, pretty good movie. If it's on, turn it on, leave it on, and you'll enjoy it. I don't remember Radio Flyer all that much. That was 92. That's when they also did A League of Their Own in 92.
Radio with Cuba Gooding Jr.
I like that movie.
I like it too.
But yeah, that's
It
when.
was underrated.
This is right when he started just an absolute fucking run of movies. So.
90s, he went bananas.
Yeah, like he started slow but 92 was Radio Flyer. Then he did League of Their Own, Sleepless in Seattle in 93. I don't know if Fallen Angels was a TV show he was on. We didn't talk about the movie, even though I brought it up, which led to the start of this idea, was Philadelphia in
We
93.
didn't talk about Bosom Buddy.
Hey, nobody picked Philadelphia, so don't y'all give me shit about saying that movie's not that
That's what I
great.
just said, is that this segment's called Top 5 Tom Hanks Movies That Aren't Philadelphia.
Yeah. Apollo 13 in 95. Toy Story also in 95.
Toy Story.
That Thing You Do in 1996. Saving Private Ryan in 98. You've Got Mail in
I'm waiting for
1998.
one that we didn't mention that you get into, but keep going.
Yeah.
Hit 2000.
Toy Story 2 in 99. The Green Mile in 1999. And this is one I thought someone would have put it on their list. I'm kind of surprised that it's
I
not.
think Biff would put it over his list.
Probably, yeah. Castaway.
Castaway.
Yeah, but see, like I don't think I've ever seen Castaway all the way through, but it's just never.
Well,
really-
son.
never really appealed to me about a dude staying on an island by himself. Like it's
With
just-
talking to a fucking
Talking to a
volleyball. I mean, it was well done, and it was acted very well, but it just didn't do that for me. It was like, okay.
The meme video of Pete Carroll's head
Yes.
superimposed on him,
Yeah.
and Russell Wilson on the volleyball. He's like, "Well said. I'm sorry."
Yeah, we can all agree that the Polar Express was not good.
Oof. Ugh.
Which one?
Polar Express.
Wasn't terrible, but
Yeah,
it was,
I wouldn't say
it was
awful,
kind of a
but-
letdown from.
You
I
had that douchey little kid that was on the. Oh, I can't remember. his
I
name.
couldn't get past the animation in that movie because it wasn't like Pixar animation.
No.
It was very weird looking.
I don't remember a damn thing about the Lady Killers or
I just remember
Elvis
that
has
they
left the
played church
building.
music.
What?
They played church music.
Okay.
Ryan Hirsch was in it. And he was like deaf, I think, or had his tongue cut out or something.
Yeah, so Polar Express was 94, Cars was 06. Also in 06, a fucking dud in the Da Vinci.
Cars?
Yeah, Cars was 06.
Like he was in that.
He was the voice of Woody, the Woody car.
Oh.
If I pull up a picture of the Woody car, you'd understand.
You know, it's like it skipped on his list because I think it was 04, was that him and his wife were behind the Big Fat Greek Wedding.
Yeah,
And
I
the
didn't.
producers and the reason that movie launched. That way.
Yeah, I didn't see like an acting credit for it, obviously.
No,
but
they weren't in it.
Yeah, yeah,
It
yeah.
was, like basically the movie came out in like 02 and was independent, and then like 04 or something like that. I remember the other reasons that they saw it and loved it and turned it into this big phenom that it became.
Also, another movie that he did that was also very
Yeah,
forgettable
I
was
remember that
Angels and
movie.
Demons.
That movie.
Wait,
sucked.
what?
Angels and Demons. That was a forgettable
well,
movie.
Well, Vinci Code first.
Yeah.
They make a little. Hot Wheels like that. I have to get it, put it next to my Francesco
There you
Vanuglia.
go.
Another movie that I
The
thought.
Vinci Code was okay, though. It wasn't terrible, but it didn't like blow my mind. But
Yeah. And speaking of on that same kind of vein of a movie, highly rated, but no one mentioned it. And I didn't expect it to be was Charlie Wilson's War.
I never saw that.
I mean, I know of the movie, but yeah.
And then, so Charlie Wilson's War was 07. Then he had Angels and Demons in 09. And then he went on the run of just the Toy Story movies and didn't have a whole lot after that until we get to Captain Phillips.
There you go.
Saving Mr. Banks is 2013. Bridge of Spies is very highly rated, but I don't know this movie at all. Like, I couldn't tell you a thing about it. I can hear Todd peeing.
I can probably hear it too.
Ithaca. Yes, Sully in 2016, which I need to watch.
Wait, what was he in Zootopia?
I don't remember.
That's it. He's got his Zootopia on his list.
I don't remember.
2016.
I don't
Do you
remember,
remember anything about The Post?
No.
I don't remember him being in Zootopia. His
I
voice
see
in
the
Zootopia.
post on here. The Post 2017. Wow.
I don't remember the movie at all.
Meryl Streep. He's always in the movies with big names like Larry Crown. He's got Julia Roberts. What about The Terminal? Are you going to talk about The Terminal?
Didn't, yeah, nobody brought that up.
That was pretty terrible.
A Man Called Otto, I remember seeing the trailers for it, and I was like,
it seemed interesting.
yeah, kind of, but like I feel like it was kind of predictable in terms of like, oh, it's this curmudgeon who probably has something happen to him or meets someone that kind of softens him up and turns him into a nice guy or this and that. So I kind of bypassed it, but I think enough people have said it's probably good enough. I might check it out. But yeah, whenever we get to figuring out top actors, I think Tom Hanks.
Wait, so what was Captain Phillips?
That's the one from the famous meme where like I think there's like is it Somali the pirates?
Oh, okay.
They
That's
take
what
over
I
the boat.
mixing up with Sully when the guy
Yeah.
like, I'm the captain.
Yeah, that's
Like takes over
I'm gonna have to watch that. one.
That's Captain Phillips.
Captain Phillips. That's my list.
Somalian pirates or whatever it was.
Yeah, something like that.
Yeah,
Like in Southport.
yeah, exactly. Yeah, that's funny. I totally thought that and Sully was the same damn movie. 2013, 2016.
So I like this list. Couple movies I think will probably get slid around and moved around after people will watch them, but no, I have no complaints. Well, other than Todd not having to leave it on this top 5, that was a little not a complaint. It's just other than Travis not having a league of their own in his top 5. Not a complaint, just a surprise.
I can kind of like piggyback on what Sean said on that. It's been a while since I watched that movie all the way through. I saw it when I was a kid, so
I feel the same way of like, I know it's not Tom Hanks, but like Field of Dreams. I haven't seen that movie in so long, but I
I
know
don't
it's a
think I've
good.
ever seen that.
I know it's a good movie. It's a baseball movie, but I'd have to see it again. You know.
Kevin Costner is very,
Yeah.
very hit or miss for me. I like Old Durham, but
Dances with Wolves.
the Field of Dreams looks pretty boring to me.
Dances with Smurfs.
But
I mean, Field of Dreams. It was good for its time, but I don't think it is going to captivate someone younger than
It's not like
us.
it spans generations or anything.
No, it's okay. Like you've seen it once or two times, and you're like, okay, I'm good. I don't need to see it
Yeah.
again. A League of Their Own, I'll watch it every time it comes on. I'll stop kind of what I'm doing and watch it. I won't go out of my way to put it on.
I know everybody
But if
likes
it's
James
on, I'll
Earl
watch
Jones
it.
from Field of Dreams, but I'd rather him in Sandlot. You know.
Well,
I'd rather him in Star Wars.
I mean that could springboard our next top five.
Or Lion King.
What was that?
Top five baseball movies, or we could do sports movies
sports
or
are
football movies. We're gonna need some time to think about sports movies because
Sports movies-
that's gonna be
the problem
tough.
with sports movies is I've thought about this like because you had texted me when you sent that in the text about sports movies. I don't know what we ended up doing that day, but I had already started preparing mine. I was like, oh shit, I gotta add this one in there.
I
gotta add this
think-
one in there.
I think we did. What did we do instead? Because I knew we needed some time to think about that more. But so I think we did two top fives in between when we talked about it. We definitely, for sure,
It
did
wasn't a Disney.
Disney
movie.
Pixar.
Is this real? It says Tom Hanks is going to be Netflix original MLK. He's played Martin Luther King.
I doubt that, but he might be in it.
That can't be real. It's no way. No way.
That's like what's the joke from Chappelle's show? It
Will
goes,
Smith going to be, you know.
do you remember the episode of Chappelle's show when?
The greatest.
Whoa, language.
Wasn't it?
Yeah, but nobody was talking about. He's like Tom Cruise as the last samurai. Are you
Yeah.
fucking kidding me?
Tom Hanks was the. I'm not gonna say it because Patrick just said whoa, but that's what it was.
Oh, because you did not already say it. So yeah, it was.
Last
It was in between.
to play with Tom Hanks.
I think we talked about it during the sports movies, and we did MMA fighters, then jerseys, and then obviously Disney Pixar. So it was sometime in between the last
It was the
two.
jerseys. It was jerseys.
Yeah. So we'll have to revisit that list. Mike, do you have your top five ready? No? Okay.
According to
Mike's on a milk
IMDb,
carton right now.
IMDb, this is the top 10 rated Tom Hanks movies. Forrest Gump's number 1, Saving Private Ryan, Green Mile, Toy Story, then Toy Story 3, Catch Me If You Can, Toy Story 2,
Oh, Toy Story. No. Toy Story 2
Castaway,
is not
Captain
good.
Phillips, Toy Story 4. That's his top 10 is according to the star ratings on IMDb.
So listeners, you railed on us about our Disney movies and ones we omitted from that list. I know. This one should be a little bit more consistent and more universally loved. But I'd love to hear what you guys think and how you rank your favorite Tom Hanks movies. That's it for the episode. We're going to do another shot to close it out like we always do. This one is going to be another Oxbow rum.
Movie stuff.
It's already in the glass. As Sean Holt of Turner and Hooch, which is a great movie. Should have been in the top 5 for me. Probably needs to get revisited, but that's for another day. And
Top 5 dog movies. Milo and Otis.
all dogs go to heaven, and I don't care what you put for the rest.
Homeward Bound.
Oliver and Company.
101,
was God.
101 Dalmatians.
Air Bud.
One or
Wait,
two.
that's my top 5 sports movies.
Everybody,
sucked.
where does Lassie fall on this list, though?
Babe.
Babe.
That's not a dog.
Wait. No. Top 5. Oh, that's not a dog. Never
Animal
mind.
movies.
Top 5 movies with animals. I would say what? Ed. Here's the picture.
Was that
The monkey, the
Oh,
chimp
yeah,
that
the chimp
pitched.
movie, yeah.
Who threw like 100 mile per hour or whatever it was.
Strays.
On that note, boys, cheers.
Congo.
Congo was a good movie.
Camden's getting a Congo
Congo was
present for his
underappreciated.
birthday and this week.
Wagons out.
Wagons out.